Hello, my name is Celia Wild, and this is my presentation over biodiversity loss. I specifically decided to focus on the bottlenose dolphins. So digging right in, kind of going in through our topic, so bringing diversity home. So I decided to specifically talk about the challenges bottlenose dolphins are facing day to day. So from biodiversity loss, you're digging into the climate change, ocean acidification, overfishing, population, and pollution issues. Humans are the main contributing factor to all these things the dolphins are facing every single day. So going into a couple little subgroups within those, so pollutants being chemical, plastic, noise, and then oil spill is in a whole other category by itself, and we'll find out what that reasoning is a little bit later. So I chose the bottlenose dolphins because they are one of my biggest passions. I am currently enrolled through Unity College for the marine biology department, their program there. They're fascinating, they're intelligent, they're amazing, and not many people realize their day-to-day challenges they face being out in the wild. So a lot of causing factors that we did talk about within the biodiversity loss was the climate change, the global warming, pollution, that goes into your oil, chemical, plastic, and my target audience for this would be anyone who is willing to listen, really, any scientist, any normal day-to-day person, anybody who's in the conservation world. I think it's important for everybody to listen and to know and to be more educated on what's going on with all these beautiful animals. Let's see. So on our first trip down here, we're going to start with climate change and global warming, being this is one of the main factors within this. So, within climate change and global warming, we're having the warmer waters, which is causing a lot of habitat loss for a lot of the prey that the bottlenose dolphins they have. They're losing the kelp forests and the seaweed and all of, we have an issue with ocean acidification, which is causing the corals to die off, and which is another place where dolphins are going and eating and finding their food. Another thing is the warmer temperatures are scientifically now proven to show that it's lowering their reproductive rates. They're having them every few years, and usually it's a little bit more steady with that. We're having a slow climb within that. And then we have a new thing affecting the salinity of the water, which is causing a new skin infection found in dolphins and in whale species around the world. And it's causing a lot more of dolphins and whales to actually beach themselves. So that is what this photo here is on the right hand side. It's a very sad photo, but it's a sad truth of what is going on day to day. Next, I wanted to talk about the oil spills. So a lot of people realize how bad oil spills are when they happen, but they don't realize how long the side effects actually last. So I'm going to talk about the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. They've actually found that dolphins and whales that have been exposed to that, and even the aftermath, that's been 10 years plus, they have suffered significant health side effects. This new lung disease has actually come about because they're inhaling and aspirating that oil, and it's just causing a lot of issues in their lungs, and for them to, you see it comes with a lot of stress responses, such as the beaching that we just talked about, and a lot of compromised immune functions that they've never had to deal with before. The next stop, which is of course the biggest and main cause that everybody knows and talks about, and it's preached against about everyone, is plastics. And you can see here there's a bottlenose dolphin with plastic on them, and they ingest them, they eat them, they get in their way, they get stuck in them. So when ingested, it can actually cause fatal tears and different blockages that lead to illness, disease, and actually can falsify the feeling for them of being full, and it just leads to them starving because they don't feel the need to eat. They go after a lot of plastic because it actually mimics a lot of their prey and like their silhouettes and movement in the water. And so they actually go after and eat them, not realizing what it is, of course. Another bad thing and kind of worry that we have with the plastics is that it's absorbing toxins called POPs, or otherwise persistent organic pollutants, which are organic compounds that resist breakdowns. They do not break down. And if they can go into little smaller chunks, but it's nothing incomparable. Like, they will not break down, which is obviously not ideal. So next here, of course, my target audience would be anyone that can utilize plastic products that do not recycle their plastic in a controlled manner. On the other hand, like noise pollution and oil spills are more targeted towards larger corporations that use larger vessels without having fail-safes or whatnot when it comes to oil spills or other man-made issues in the oceans. And this slide is about the framework example that we had to do in class. It kind of just talked about so my main topic, of course, is the bottlenose dolphins, which you can see, but you can see all of their main causes that they're facing now are all surrounded by human activities. So here, of course, I have, the climate change, which speaks about the decrease in prey, habitat loss, the heat waves, the warmer temps, and slowing the reproduction rates. I added corporations on there because, we have an issue with dolphin meat and also overfishing, and so they don't have a lot of food sources or a lot of fishing gear, which leads to pollution, fishing gear being dumped in the ocean or they're getting tangled in it. The crab traps and the nets, and of course in pollution we have the chemical, plastic, noise, and oil. And then you can see here off to my audience, I have anybody who's really willing to listen, any big corporations such as NOAA, the general public, different scientists and researchers that we have. Let's see next. So current management practices, effects on human activities and coastal dolphin behaviors. This is a case study that I looked over. And so the main topic of this case study was the examination on how the bottlenose dolphins are actually affected by the heavy vessel traffic. So this goes into our noise pollution. This group has actually conducted this by using non-invasive shore bases tracking. So they're actually, of course, they're not in there, they're not affecting the results in any way by either their own boat or their own sound that they're making in the water. They're completely on the shore. And their main focus was to pay attention to the behavior state as well as the habitats they were in when this was happening, the movement, how they were going around or if they were turning around with the vessels. And oddly enough, even though the bigger main commercial vessels, the fishing vessels, are the loudest, even though they're loud and it really affects their echolocation and how they are in their senses, they actually don't swim away from that area because the prey over there is so accessible for them. This next case study I did was about the new skin disease that is actually linked to climate change in dolphins. This new skin disease is actually covering up over to 70% of their body, as you can see in a photo I have put over here to the right. You can see how it's a bunch of patchy, raised lesions all over their body. And a lot of the dolphins are dying from it or bleaching themselves. It's making them very ill. So the first case was actually found in 2005 and was able to be linked to the climate change, which is happening, and it was happening all over the coast for around the communities worldwide. And this can actually has an effect on due to the decrease of the ocean salinity that is brought from climate change. So of course, the more severe storms and the more water we're getting, the drop in salinity that's happening, which is turning it to more of a freshwater coastal area. Let's see next here. In my opinion on this, I decided to talk about the behavior case study that I talked about the first time. And this was, I loved the way they conducted this. I thought they did it really well and then was really well thought out. I like that they didn't have their own traffic noise or own vessel noise that was actually affecting the results. It was just completely natural, and I really think that was the best way to go about conducting this. So we have talked about how we would kind of promote things, get that out there, kind of talk about it, which is called swag, funny enough. And so what I thought about after, doing some research and whatnot to finding out how others do it and kind of getting some ideas, I think it would be best to make like a merch line and have a website and kind of have that accessible to everybody. So, things people use day to day, bracelets, anklets, phone cases, shirts, shoes, rings, all the fun stuff that people want, but can all go to a good organization or company that could help and put money towards being able to take care of some of the issues that these dolphins are having, or just put it to research for them. Within the website, I would like to have stuff about, of course, buying the product, but also how people can get involved. Why are we doing this? What can they do from home, even if you're not near an ocean or anything? What can you do even from a landlocked state? I think that's really important. Or how can you get involved? How can you volunteer? That kind of thing. Having recognizable things so people can talk about them and educate others to want to learn more about what's going on. And then we added this part, and kind of when you look back and reflect on yourself, what do you see? And I grew up as someone who has always watched documentaries and informational TV shows, and following people like Steve Irwin, who really talked about this in big. This was their passion, and it just kind of transferred on to me. And I though I have not been 100% perfect when it comes to how I live or what I use, I have done a lot of things to transfer over to do small things to lead to bigger successes. So, I don't use a lot of single-use plastics any longer. You can substitute your regular plastic baggies for, the silicone ones, or more energy-efficient light bulbs, carpooling. I actually work at a zoo, and so we're actually involved in one of the biggest conservation work, and we offer one of the biggest prizes that are actually in the world. So it's surrounding myself with people who can further educate me and guide me to where I need to be to help improve myself and help educate and improve others. And for example, a lot of, and when it comes to eating seafood, I like to make sure they're sustainable sources, and it's not, because a lot of dolphins do pass away with nets and traps and whatnot. So it's good to just be educated on where your stuff is coming from. And thank you all for listening. Here is my contact page, and then here are my references.